With Bo Nickel moving up from 184 to 197, the common perception heading into the season that this was going to be Miles Martin's year, and that no one was going to really be all that close to him. And from a seeding standpoint, he is the number one seed. He's been undefeated all year. Probably the toughest challenge he would have had was Shakur Rashid, but Rashid medical forfeited out of the Big Ten Finals. So we're going to find out if he really is this much better than the rest of the field in this bracket. So let's go through and make our picks. So starting off on the top side, I'm not going to go through the pigtail, but I'll pick Miles Martin to win over the winner of the pigtail. Then between McNally and Hazel, I'm going to pick Hazel from Lock Haven. Taylor Venz and Harvey, I will take Taylor Venz. And then between Lyon and Price, I will take Price. So then in the round of 16, that would give us Miles Martin and Hazel from Lock Haven. I'll take Miles Martin there. And then we'll have Venz and Price. Venz and Price have not gone against each other yet this year, surprisingly. Or actually, not just this year, but in general. But as far as picks go, I will pick Price to win over Taylor Venz, who's had a few more losses than expected of late. For much of the season, he was a top 4 guy, but with the Big Tens, he had a lot of losses that I don't think were expected of him. Lost to Cash Wilkie earlier in the year, too, so he seems like he's a guy who's kind of at risk of an upset. And I don't know that losing to Price should be a major upset, but that's a loss I would see coming for him. So then we would have Miles Martin versus Price. These guys have not gone against each other before, but I will pick Miles Martin to win there and to cover this quarter. So I'm going to put a big circle around him. All right, for the next quarter, Dean versus Stewart, I'll take Max Dean. Cash Wilkie versus Gravina, I'll take Cash Wilkie. Bonacorsi versus Sumner, I'll take Bonacorsi. And then Shani versus Parker, I'll take Emery Parker. So then between Max Dean and Cash Wilkie, these guys have not gone against each other in the past. Dean was kind of like between like an 8 and 11 seed for much of the year, ended up winning EIWAs and is now bumped up to a 5 seed. So the question is, does the EIWA tournament say more about where he's at right now, or does what we've seen for most of the year tell us about where he's at? I'm more inclined to go with what we've seen over the course of the season, and for that reason, I think that him and Wilkie are actually pretty close, and I think that Wilkie, who does a good job of keeping matches close with a lot of top guys, is going to be able to actually sneak one away here and move on to the quarterfinals. And then with Bonacorsi and Parker, I will pick Emery Parker. And again, these guys have not gone against each other before, either this year or in the past. So that would leave Cash Wilkie and Emery Parker in the quarterfinals here. These guys have gone against each other. They've gone against each other twice. Parker has won both times, one by a score of 3-2, and one by a score of 4-1. Both of them were this year. And I'll pick Emery Parker to win again. So that gives us that takes out Cash Wilkie and gives us Emery Parker and Miles Martin on the top half of the draw. And then between these two, I will take Miles Martin. So MM. All right, so Martin's going to cover the top half. He'll get to the finals. Now let's go to the bottom half. So we've got Zavatsky versus Ducharme. I will pick Zach Zavatsky to win that match. We'll have Caffey versus Wisman. I'll take Caffey in a bit of a minor upset. Louis Duprez versus Mason Reinhardt. I'll take Louis Duprez. And then Drew Foster and LaFragola from Brown. I'll take Drew Foster. So then we have Zavatsky versus Caffey. These guys have not gone against each other in the past, but I'll take Zavatsky to win this one. And then Duprez and Foster. These guys actually have gone against each other. They went against each other earlier this year on November 30th, and Foster won by pin. So I will pick Foster to win that matchup again. So that gives us Zavatsky versus Foster in the quarterfinals. These guys have gone against each other 4 different times. Foster's 3-1 in this matchup. It's 2-0 this year. The 2 matches that they had this year, one was won by Foster with a score of 9-6. The other one was a 9-5 win. So I'll pick Foster to win again here. So that puts Foster into the semifinals. I'll circle him. And then on the bottom corner, Nick Reedon and Dakota Gear. Reedon, early on in the year, he looked really good. He was getting seated up around like 2 or 3 in some polls. But looks like he's been dealing with some injuries of late. Hasn't looked as good. I don't think he's at 100% right now. And Gear's a guy who's a little bit underseeded just because he got inserted in the lineup rather late in the season. Gear's a guy who I think under normal circumstances is probably around a 12-ish area, if not a little bit higher. I think with Edinboro, he's around between 10 and 14 before he transferred over to Oklahoma State. So we're looking at what could be like a 12 versus a 7, with the 7 being injured. In that case, I think Dakota Gear is actually going to pull the upset here. So we'll get a 26 over a 7 and take out Nick Renan. Then we have Hemauer versus Sammy Colbray. In this one, I will take Sammy Colbray. Got Chip Ness versus Samuelson. We'll take Chip Ness. And then Parker versus Rashid. I'll take Shakur Rashid. So then Dakota Gear versus Sammy Colbray will be the next matchup. These guys haven't gone against each other before in the past. But I'll pick Dakota Gear over a guy in Colbray who's looked pretty good for Iowa State, but I'm expecting a lot out of Dakota Gear here. There's a reason why they forced him into the lineup and ended up pushing everyone down and eventually taking Chandler Rogers out. I think they've seen a lot from him in the room. They think that he can really do something special here. And then with Chip Ness and Shakur Rashid, these guys haven't gone against each other before, but I will pick I'll pick Shakur Rashid. So that would leave Dakota Gear and Shakur Rashid. These guys have not gone against each other before. Rashid, again, his big win was against Taylor Venn, so it's kind of hard to get a read on where he's at right now. But I think he will be good enough to get the win over Gear. So that would bring him forward. So we take Gear out. So it'll be Foster and Rashid. If this wants to circle. Close enough. And between Drew Foster and Shakur Rashid, these guys have not gone against each other before. Rashid's still wrestling with a big knee brace. I think he probably will be wrestling with a big knee brace while he's at NCAAs. I really like what I've seen from Foster, so I'm actually going to pick Foster to pull the upset here against the number 2 seed in Shakur Rashid. Now, granted, Rashid is probably a little bit overseeded here for what he's done this year. I mean, he's had a couple nice wins at the Big Ten, so that's really all we got out of him this year. The rest has been just time missed due to injury and just remembering what he did last year at 197. So that would give us in the finals Miles Martin versus Drew Foster. And in that matchup, I'm going to... I mean, if you just look at the past results between these two, they've only had one match. Miles Martin won that match by a score of 8-6 in the 2017 NCAAs. So this is the 2019 NCAAs, or 2 years in the future. A couple of years ago, it was a pretty close match. I think Martin, if this match happens 10 times, Martin probably wins 6 or 7 of them. But I get the feeling that with Miles Martin, there's kind of a lot of pressure on him this year to have the undefeated season going into this final match against a guy he's already beaten. And have all the expectations that he has on him. He's had some close matches before in the finals, but I could see him slipping up here, making a mistake, and getting caught and end up losing after giving up a high scoring move to Drew Foster. So I think Miles Martin probably wins a takedown battle, but I think Foster catches him on his back and ends up outpointing him here to get the win. So I will pick Drew Foster of UNI to win at 184. So big upset there. We'll see if it happens, but don't be shocked if it does.